Hi, it's Lori from Coast to Coast Craft Girls coming to you from the West Coast. Today I wanted to share a stepper card I made. It's using the Gate dies from Crafter's Companion, and this is a Christmas tree die. This one that I've had for a long time. It's a Create a Card. I don't know what it's called. Let's see, what is it called? It's called Sparkling Tree. Anyway, it's got the edges so you can cut down either edge or cut it out. And so I made this one with that one and the Winter Sparkle paper. And it's just a stepper card with a tree. And then I made it again using that same die, but I cut into the background paper as opposed to, see this one I put in silver on the top. I didn't love the look of that. So I did this one, I just cut straight into that background paper. And then I added a deer, which I liked because I used a green tree, which actually with some glitter glue on it, which actually came from Honeybee Stamps, and I'll show you that one. But, and I like the green, I think, a little bit better. So anyway, they're fun to make. They're not hard. They take a little bit of measuring and careful measuring, but anyway, they fold flat to mail, but they're fun to make. So let me show you how it's done. So we're going to start with a piece of just plain white card. And this card is 7 by 11. And we're going to put it on the with the 11 side across the top, and we're going to score at 5.5, but only in about an inch. So just come down, or about 1.5 inches. So just not too far, and then just same on the other side. And I always go short because you can always add to it, but if you go too far, then it's going to show, and so you don't want to do that. Then we're going to score in the middle to make our stepper card, and you have to score in 1.5 inches. You know, you don't want to score that side. You want to score in. The easiest way I've found to do this is I want to score it at 1.5 inches. So I put my ruler at the 1.5 inch line, and I line it up so that one of the inch markers is on the edge, or the card is on the edge. And then I know I'm going to come in 1.5 inches, and my tool should just drop right into that groove, and we're going to come down to about the 6.5. Okay, so it's down 1.5 inches and then up 1.5 inches, and you're going to score at 1.5 inches this way. And then we're going to do the same thing at 2.5. So we're just going to put it like that. My card there. So I come in 1/2 and 1 inch, and I'm going to score down to this there. So I scored at 1.5, 2.5, and I go to 3.5. Same thing. 4.5. And I'm only using my ruler to make sure that I get it in the right groove. And then 7.5. Once you get it in there, then you can remove it and just use your scoreboard. Okay. And again, if they're not all the way, it's not that big of a deal because you can go in and add them later. Okay. Get that out of the way. And then I'm going to use my paper trimmer, and you're going to cut from that top score line down to this bottom score line at 1.5 inches in. So I'm going to come to 1.5. I'm going to cut from there down to there. So that's from, with the top part of the line, it's from 3.5 down to 9.5. And then you're going to flip it around and score from 1.5 down to 7.5. Okay. And see, I actually got those score lines a little too far, but on this side it's not as important because it's going to get covered up with that gate. But I didn't get those score lines far enough, so let me bring my scoreboard back in. And I'll go over these measurements one more time. Okay, so it's 7 by 11. And to create a center stepper card, I'm going to score at 5.5, here, 1.5 inches from the top and 1.5 inches into the bottom. And then don't score in the middle there. Then you're going to score the center section between those 1.5 inch marks at 1.5, 2.5, 3.5, 4.5, and 7.5. Okay, so this one will go down, up, and then that's your back. And then cut between those score lines. And then we're just going to fold it up. This folds down. That folds down. This folds up, folds down, up. And once you get it kind of mostly folded, then it just kind of goes. And then you want to give them a really good burnish. And that gives you 1 inch steps on the inside, whereas this is 1.5, so they don't go all the way down. The reason I did that is because if I went down all the way to the 1.5 inch mark, my tree would sit too low if I put it on the bottom. And putting it on the bottom gives it a little more stability, so I didn't want to do that. So I just did a 1 inch step. Okay. Now that gives you your center stepper card. Okay? Just like that. I'll set that to one side. Now I'm going to bring my, this is Centura Pearl, and it is 6 3/4 by 5 1/4. And I'm going to cut, this is a Gate, Crafter's Companion Gate create a card from, I don't know, a long time ago. And I'm going to center this up basically 1.5 inches or so from the bottom, or 1 1/4 inches from the bottom, and in from the sides. So I'm just going to use my glass mat to kind of get it straight and even. I'm going to get it. So I want to come in 1 inch and about 1/4. And that should give me 1 1/4 inches from this side. Yeah. And then I just want to get it straight at about 1.25 inches, so it needs to go up a little bit. Oops. Right about there. Okay. Now you can tape that in place so it doesn't move. And I'm going to tape up here on the section that's going to get cut away. And then we're going to put it on our cutting plate and run it through. bang this. Helps get it out of the die. And then I'm just gonna poke all these out, so I'll be right back with you after I get all these poked out. Okay, I've got all those little bits poked out, or mostly. And now this gate, as you can see from the die, it cuts out, and I didn't cut that top because I didn't want it that high. I wanted it shorter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim off this top part to make it the height that I want. And we're just going to kind of follow it around and trim those pieces off. See? Same on the other side. And that gives me the gate that I actually want. Okay? And then that's going to go on the front of my card, but I'm going to put some green matte layer on it. And what I did is I just cut a piece of green cardstock that's, let's see, just 6 7/8 by 5.5. And I'm just going to line this up, and then I can trim that top part off. I cut it a little bit tall just because I wanted to make sure I got it right. And it's easier to trim that top off than you can't add to it. So, and all I did was I cut a piece of paper and then got it out the inside. And I'm just going to get this sort of centered on there. It gives me a nice matte layer, and then it also gives it a little more rigidity. And then we're just going to trim off that top. And then I'm going to put that onto the front of my card. And I'm going to put it right up at the top, that way. Okay? Okay, so there are my gates. Now I'm going to line these inside pieces with some lighter green cardstock, and this is just 3/4 of an inch wide by just under 4, so about 3 5/8, 3 7/8, and that's going to go on my inside step. Okay. And then this one is about 3 7/8 by 3, and I'm going to put that on that back side. And it's just to take away that stark white. Okay. Now I'm going to make my tree, and I'll show you. As I said, with the blue one, I used the Crafter's Companion die. For the green, I used these dies from Honeybee, and it's a set. It does a tree, and then it has like a little tree, an outline of the tree that cuts holes so you can put like candles in it and stuff. And so I cut that out in green and in white because I'm going to double stack them just for rigidity. So I cut that out in green and in white, and it comes with an embossing folder. So after you cut it out, you just line that up. It's a 3D embossing folder. We run that through. Isn't that pretty? It's gorgeous. And I'm going to go ahead and mount it onto this white cardstock, just because this green cardstock's not the thickest. I didn't have any good Centura Pearl in the color that I wanted, in the darker green, so I used this lighter weight cardstock. So I'm going to back it onto the white just to give it a little more structure. And then I want it to look a little bit like snow, like it's out in a park or something. So what I did is I just took my white pigment ink and I just kind of put them on like at the bottom of each row of branches and just give a little flick up, because I don't want the whole thing white, or I would have cut it in white cardstock, but I want it to look like it's got snow. Just kind of about like that, not a lot. And then what I did is I took just some clear glitter glue just to give it a little more shimmer and just kind of followed along some of the embossed lines. I'm going to set that to one side to dry because that glitter glue needs dry, but isn't that pretty? I've got one that I already did, and hopefully the dry glue is dry. Mostly. Not completely, but a lot of it's dry. Before I put that in, I'm going to go ahead and put my sentiment on. I just cut a Happy Holidays sentiment out of green. I'm going to go ahead and put that on. And as if you've watched my channel at all, the way I do these very fine sentiments, there's a little bit of glue on the hand. And Happy Holidays. Okay. Now I'm going to put my tree on that back section, just right there. Okay, right in the middle. And I'm going to use my 3D glue gel just to give it a little bit of depth and dimension. I'll just set it in there. Okay. And then I'm going to put my deer on. You don't even have to put the deer on if you want. I mean, it looks just like that. It looks pretty just without it. I cut a deer out of just some Centura Pearl. And actually, I still got glue on my hand I can use. And we're just going to put glue on the bottom of its legs because the rest of it's just going to be standing up. And you're just going to put that in on the first spot in front of your tree. And that's it. You're done. Isn't that pretty? Stepper card with a garden gate, or a gate opens to a deer in the forest or in the park. So, hope you like that. Thanks for watching.